I started touring in the 1960s, going abroad with England sides, and I found that touring itself was absolutely phenomenal. I love cricket, obviously, and that got me into my job as a writer, and I was only a writer in those days. I remember going to the West Indies, which is the first of the 3 tours I talk about, in 67-8 under Colin Cowdrey, and it was an absolute eye-opener. Not only the cricket, it was actually one of the best cricket tours I've ever been on. There were 5 test matches. One, the second in Barbados, no, the third in Barbados, was boring, but the others were all dramatically exciting. But I found the countries, the islands, Guyana on the South American mainland, were absolutely fascinating. And I mean, I remember going down the community tributary on the Demerara River. The Demerara River in Georgetown is about a mile wide. It's simply phenomenal. And we went off to an Amerindian settlement where they don't know such things as money. It just didn't exist. And it was all quite phenomenal. Then there was Jamaica, and I remember we had a dramatic game in Jamaica when there was a riot and tear gas and goodness knows what, and England looked as though they were going to win the match by an innings. And then suddenly, after the riot and the tear gas had taken about 3 hours out of the match, it all started again. Sobers made a marvellous 100. What a great cricketer. The greatest all-rounder there's ever been, beyond a doubt, I think. He made 100, and England, on an unscheduled 6th day to make up for the 3 hours of being lost to the riots. Tear gas, I remember smelling the tear gas. It got in my eyes, very painful. And England had to get, they were left a target of 100 and some odd, and they were never going to get that. In the end, they were something like 69 for 8. I can't remember the exact score, but it was real excitement. And then, of course, in Trinidad, in the second test in Trinidad, Gary Sobers declared suddenly, and leaving England scored 215 in about 165 minutes, which was Doddle, and they got that easily enough, which was an extraordinary result. And we went on to Georgetown for the last test match. And Gary Sobers has been thought to have been playing with West Indian nationalism, and he had to have a police guard at the airport. I remember that well, the old Atkinson Field in Georgetown, the airport. And then we had this test which went on for 6 days, because in those days, if a series had not been decided, the last test went on for 6 days. It was a draw, and England got away with it, won the series. A wonderful series. England won against a famous West Indian side that was going just over the top. Hall, Griffith, Sobers, they were all just going, they'd been around a long time, and they were long in the tooth. Then the following winter I went to Australia, where the West Indies visited Australia, and we really saw then that the West Indies had it. Sobers again was captain, but the Australians won a massive victory in that series. And you've got Bill Lawry, the Australian captain, Ian Chappell, Doug Walters, all scoring 1 million runs. And people like Alan Connolly, Garth McKenzie, and Gleeson, the unorthodox spinner, they took most of the wickets. And then the following, that was 68-9. In May 69, the West Indies came to England for a short tour, and this really completed for me the excitement of seeing cricket in the West Indies, where it had its own characteristics, in Australia, where it had its own characteristics, and then back to England, where, of course, again, its own character and very different characteristics. And it was English cricket captained by Raymond Illingworth. Tom Graveney played a couple of matches before he played in a game on a benefit day and was kicked out of the England side, so they weren't allowed to do that and never played again, which was sad. As I say, Alan Knott. It was a good England side, and they were coming to it under Illingworth's captaincy, which was to be so successful. And of course, they went on to win the Ashes back in Australia in 71, 72. So all 3 countries, England, Australia, and the West Indies, made a tremendous contrast. And I like to think in this book there's a little bit of the countries and the people, and indeed the scenery, as well as just the cricket. And that was what I was really attempting to do when I picked up my pen to write this book.